Okay, you do speeches and presentations about resilience, motivation, overcoming difficulties. Tell us about that.
What do you mean? Tell us about that. It's a big subject.
What's your story?
What's my story? Okay. When I was a kid, it was tough. It was probably not as tough as some kids' upbringing, but it was tougher than other kids' upbringing. We didn't have any guidance, through no fault of my parents. Although my dad was a dreamer, and he instilled in me a bit of a travelling spirit. We didn't have any guidance career-wise or job-wise or anything, and didn't really, because parents were very busy doing their own thing and dealing with their own issues, which was a big thing in our family, unresolved issues. Again, no one's fault, just one of those things. I didn't do too well at school. I failed my English language O-level, I think 3 times. And I'm English. And I
Kind
just...
of ironic.
I know, right? I couldn't... Grammar didn't... I just couldn't relate to what grammar was. I would miss words out when I was writing. I would skip words and skip sentences. Sorry, skip words in sentences. So I found it very difficult to write when I was a kid. Ironically, I was in the top set for English, but my English was awful. My written English was awful. It was because of what was going on in the house. Basically, like I said, parents' unresolved issues, and there's quite a bit of stress in the house when I was a kid. So I used to daydream a lot when I was in class, and I used to be detached a lot. And also another one was my maths. My maths was awful. When I came to do my maths O-level, it was so bad. The result was so bad it wasn't even classified as a result. I got a U, unclassified result. And I remember the day I saw that, and I went back to my house, and again nothing was said, and there was no guidance. And I'm sure I'm not trying to say that this was, one of the most traumatic things in the world, but it was for me when I was a kid.
It is for a lot of kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's their world at the time.
Absolutely. And I felt the world had just fallen out of my, the floor had just fallen out of my world, because basically this was saying I couldn't do maths, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't write properly, I couldn't count properly, I couldn't do stuff.
There's other people telling you couldn't do it.
There were other people telling me
you couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it, yeah. And I wasn't getting any help. It was almost like I said, the ironic thing is I was actually in the top set for these subjects. I don't know how I was. I really don't know how I was, because I was really, really struggling. I had severe depression as a kid. I didn't know that at the time. I only know that now. And severe anxiety, because of all the unresolved issues in the house that was going on, created immense stress. So what was your question? How am I sort of qualified
so
to...
you felt that your world had ended as a kid, and that you were no good at... everyone was telling you were no good at you'd failed and all the rest of it.
I thought I was a failure. I
Yeah.
believed I was a failure.
Yeah. So how did you pick yourself up out of that?
I think there was just something inside of me. What do you call it? Resourcefulness or whatever.
Resilience.
Maybe, yeah. I am creative. I am an artist. I love painting, and I think a part of that creativity, it spawned open-mindedness. So I became a salesman. Oh, I didn't get into the university. That's right. I also failed my A levels as well. So that was another important point. I failed my A levels, and I didn't get into the university I wanted to be in. And the reason why I failed my A levels was because basically my mum and dad had such a massive row the night before my A levels, which they often used to do. They'd have massive arguments.
And for us Australians, what are O levels?
O levels and A levels are just basically the exams that you do at 16 and 18. So at 16 you can do O levels and leave school.
So for us it would be year 10 and year 12.
Yeah, year 10 and year 12. And so essentially I was in year 12, and as would often happen, coincidentally, time of exams, my mum and dad would have these massive rows. And the night before my A levels, so to go to university, my mum and dad had a huge row, massive, so big. Me and my mum sat in the greenhouse all night, and I sat and just basically sat with my mum. And the next morning I had to go and do my A levels for university, and which of course I failed, and I didn't get into the university anyway because I was crap at writing and I was crap at maths and all.
Everyone else was telling you were crap.
Everyone else was telling me I couldn't do it. And I did eventually get into what they call now a new university. It used to be a polytechnic. I got into Oxford Brookes University. I was studying biology and geography, but I had to come home because my dad was sick. And so I came home, and I became a salesman. That's what I was saying before. I was quite creative, and I became a salesman, and I did quite well at that. And then I went on to study business. But I had no guidance. No one was guiding me. I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be free. That's the only thing I wanted to be. I wanted to be free and I wanted to be happy. But I didn't know how to get there. And I was always coming up with ideas to get me money, to make me millions so I could be happy and free.
Entrepreneurial spirit.
It was creating an entrepreneurial spirit. I've since realised, by the way, you don't need lots of money to be happy. But at the time, I was just obsessed with making money. So I started a mail order business with a friend of mine, and I think I was about 25 and 26, and we took it from $50 to $2 million turnover in about 12 months. But of course, we lost it because we were both impulsive and we were young men. But I realised this is what I could do. I could do this. I could make myself successful.
So you didn't listen to all the supposed authorities?
Tried not to. I listened to Tony Robbins, and he said, don't listen to negative people. I listened to Tony Robbins every night. And I set myself goals. I saw myself doing things like riding across America on a Harley Davidson. I'm not saying across the whole lot of America, but I saw myself actually do that. I actually saw myself on a Harley Davidson one night. I was actually in a car, in my friend's car, sitting in the passenger seat, nighttime, at a traffic light junction, and I actually saw myself go past on a Harley Davidson. And my friend said, what's the matter? Because I sort of went like that. And my friend said, what's up? And I said, I've just seen myself on a Harley Davidson in America. And he said, what? And I said, I know, it's weird. And a few short years later, I was on a Harley Davidson riding through America. I've always wanted to be in a place with blue skies and ocean. I just saw myself there. And
so despite the school system telling you were crap, despite reports saying that you couldn't do it, you proved them wrong?
I think so. I went on to get a master's degree in psychology. I finished a business degree, not knowing what I wanted to do. Finished when I was 21. And when I was about 36, 37, after traveling and had various businesses and living overseas, I decided I was going to fulfill my dream of becoming a psychologist. And but the first thing I had to do was get a master's degree. Well, I got a master's degree in psychology, and that was quite hard work. It was very, very, very hard work, and I didn't have any money. That's a story. I didn't have any money, and I was living overseas at the time, and I decided to fly into London, and I had no money, and a good friend of mine paid for the tuition fees, and I didn't have any money for accommodation. I had no money for food, and I went to one of the best universities in the world, the University of Hertfordshire, and I went for it. I had like a week's worth of money. And just by sheer fluke, I saw a job advertised at the university for a residential assistant, free accommodation, and I got the job as a residential assistant, so I had free accommodation for a year, and I also got a job in the cafe on campus, so I had free food basically. So I had free food and free accommodation, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for that. And
I think you would.
Well, I got my master's degree in psychology, and I thought I would like to work as a coach stroke therapist. Oh, this is a good one.
But you knew what you wanted and you went after it.
I knew what I wanted to run after it. And I actually sent off, there was a mental health program, mental health training program by the government, which is, the government was paying for people to be trainee therapists. And I sent off 100 applications. I got 3 interviews, and I got one job offer. And it was for a quite low paid trainee. And and part of the trainee position was the government would pay for you to study 2 days a week, study certain types of therapy, and it just happened to be at the University of Hertfordshire. That's where the job was, and in the nearby area, and that's where I was going to study. And while I was in the library and getting ready to enroll on this part-time study program, in the University of Hertfordshire library, I saw another line, another queue of people. So I was in one queue for this training for this low-paid therapy job, and there was another line over there, across there, and I asked the person in front of me, "What's that line?" And he said to me, I'll never forget it, he went, "Oh no, don't even look over there." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because they're the high paid therapy trainee positions. That's what they're going for." And I said, "Oh, how much do they get paid? How much do we get paid?" And he said, £20,000. And he said, I said, "How much do they get paid?" And he said, £35,000. And I said, "Oh, right." So I crossed the line, and I went over and joined that line. And I was right at the back of the queue, and I got to the front, and I asked the person when I was the last person in that line, and I asked the enrollment person. I said, "I want one of these jobs, and I'll go anywhere in the UK for one of these jobs." And they said, "Well, as luck would have it, Matthew, the person who's supposed to be taking this job, the $35,000 job for therapy, hasn't turned up." And I said, "Oh," and he said, "And it's actually here in Hatfield." And I said, "Oh, right." And I said, "Can I have it?" And they said, "Well, if you pass the interview process, you can have it." And I did. I passed the interview process, and I got the job. And so I would say a lesson was learned there. If you see an opportunity, go for it. And then after a while, I decided I wanted to do a doctorate. And I decided I wanted to be by the beach, and I wanted to be by a beach and blue skies and ocean. And I called up a university in Australia after deciding I wanted to go to Australia. after seeing all the just being in London and the grey skies, and I just got rid of it. So I called a university in Australia, and they kept on saying no, and I kept on getting knockbacks from universities, and in the end, I just called one university and I kept on getting knockbacks, and I said to them, and it turned out to be an amazing place, by the way. I said to them, look, if you just interview me, if you just give me an interview, and you say no after the interview, because they were just saying no to me over the phone, basically, and if you give me an interview and you say no, fine, I won't ring you again, because I was pestering this particular university.
Very persistent.
Oh, I was just pestering the hell out of them. Phone calls all the time, because I wanted to be in a university near a beach.
Wouldn't take no for an answer.
Just wouldn't take no for an answer. And I wanted to be near a university and a beach. I wanted to be near a beach, and in the end they agreed to interview me. And I got through the interview, and I got through the interview, and apparently it's something like, it was well over 500 people that applied at the time. That's what I heard, and about 6 people got through to the doctorate. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think 4 people finished, and I was one of them.
So you're not going to let anyone tell you can't do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. So what I'm saying to you is, don't give up. Success is easy. You just need to be persistent.